Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Designers at Home. I'm Mark Weaver. We're going to be visiting with my friend Thom Filicia today, and I know Thom is in a meeting, so he'll be joining us shortly as soon as he gets a moment. Thom is the founder and principal of his New York-based design firm, Thom Filicia Inc. And he's a graduate of Syracuse University, and he's also a visiting design professor at the School of Art and Design. So he's a fascinating guy. He's accomplished quite a bit, and he's going to tell us a lot about what he's working on. He started his career at two really renowned design firms in New York, Parrish Hadley and Robert Metzger Interiors. His work has been published, all the national, international magazines. He's, I think probably you know him best from his role in the Emmy Award-winning show Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. He was the designer. And he's made several TV appearances. He's been on The Oprah Show, The View, Good Morning America, Ellen, Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and several others. And he has a new endeavor, which is on Bravo with his former castmate Carson Thom, and it's called Get a Room. So maybe he'll tell us a little bit about that. I haven't seen the show as yet. And also, Thom also has an Instagram show. It's called House Calls. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. It's a wonderful show. And I was very fortunate to be Thom's guest last year, I think in November. So we're turning the tables on him today, and he's going to be joining me on Designers at Home. So let's see if he is here. Well, we have a lot of friends watching today, which is wonderful, and no Thom as yet. So Thom has also published a couple books, and he's got some very interesting clients. And one of the things I want to talk to him about today is his product line, what is available in his product line. And also he's got a very, very interesting venture that he's doing with Alexa Hampton in New York. So he will give us a little insight into that collaboration. So let's see, no Thom as yet. Somebody is asking me, who is the artist of the artwork behind me? That's done by a local Los Angeles artist. His name is Brian Heggie. And the painting was commissioned by a very dear friend of mine. And when he passed away, it was bequeathed to me. So it's a very sentimental piece to me. So thank you for asking. So, let's see, no Thom as yet. So, let's see, we'll just go ahead with, all the magazines have listed Thom as one of the top decorators, an international tastemaker. House and Garden dubbed him an international tastemaker. Elle Decor has him on his A-list of designers, and he's a go-to designer for a lot of celebrities and corporate people. And Thom's on. Okay, so Thom is on, it looks, and we'll just wait for him to come live with us. Hello. Okay, hi Thom, but I don't see you somehow. There we go. All right, everybody, hang on. Okay, here it goes.
Hey!
Finally.
Hi.
Hallelujah.
I've been here. I've been watching you, but I was saying hello. I kept saying, hey, I'm here, hello. But when I was hitting the request, it wasn't going through for some reason.
Well, it's the internet.
I know.
It's fun. The age of technology. Crazy. Well, you're here and you look great. How are you, Thom?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm actually at a job site in Florida right now at a project that we're just starting. and doing a walkthrough with the contractors, and that's where I am.
Well, it looks
So
glorious. Well, it's certainly a
yes,
lot warmer than New York, isn't it?
yes, a lot less snow here, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot less snow. But yeah, so I'm here, and it is a beautiful, like I'd say it's about 72 degrees and sunny and lovely here today. I was listening to a couple of things. One is, yes, I worked at Parrish Hadley. I then worked with Robert Metzger, and then I worked with Jeffrey Bill Huber for about 4 years. I also did some work with Alan Tanksley for a little bit. I kind of moonlighted with him and helped him on some things before I went to Jeffrey's office. So yeah, so that was kind of my background, that was really, you know, I always tell people that when I got involved in design, you know, really involved in it was really in college, you know, like, so I was always interested in design as a kid, and I was designing homes in 6th grade, and just like stealing my mother's lockbox key because she was a realtor, and I would go into every house that was for sale that I was not allowed to go to, and with my friends, and we would like look at it and study it and talk about it and whatever. And then sometimes I even threw parties in those houses, which was not a good idea, but it was a lot of fun. And then I went to college for interior design, and I got a degree in interior design, as well as I feel like I mastered in like having fun. And so I learned how to do that, which was really great as well. I think I always knew how to do that and still do that. But and then I interned at Parrish Hadley, and then they hired me out of school, and I worked there for a bit, and then I was there, and then I went to Robert Metzger, and I was there for, gosh, I was with Robert for, I was there until he died, and then I stayed and worked with Michael Cristiano for another year, and I think in total I was there about 4 years, and then I went and worked for Jeffrey Bill Huber for 4 years, and that's when I then went on my own. And I went on my own, and I did that for about 2 or 3 years, and then I started doing television at the same time. So that was complicated because I was running.
You know, everybody wants to know, of course, how Queer Eye for the Straight Guy came about. How did you get involved with that? Because it's just it was a wonderful show.
Yeah, well, it was. So how I got involved in that was I guess it was around 2002. I think I got a telephone call. Well, actually, so what led up to the telephone call, which is interesting, is I had a dog named, at that time, I had a dog named Paco, who I adopted. I found out in the Hamptons. He was abandoned. We couldn't find his home. We checked with ARF. We checked with the police. Ended up with a dog. And I found him on the side of the road in the winter, and in Sagaponack. And I ended up, he was a puppy. He had no home. No one was looking for him. And so he and I became like inseparable. And he was amazing. And one day I was in my office in Soho, and it was a Friday. It was like 5 o'clock. Everybody was leaving, starting their weekend. And I was finishing up some work. And then I left. My dog was like, you know, like looking at me like, I got to go out. I got to go out. He's like basically about to tie his legs into a knot because he had to pee so bad. So we literally, I was like, wait. I did 2 more things, and I did it. And I get into the elevator, and it's like, it was me and about like 12 women, I think. It was in the elevator. And this was in a building, 270 Lafayette in New York City in Soho. And my office was on like the 14th floor, the 10th floor or something, I can't remember. But, and we get in the elevator, and it was all of a sudden the elevator just made like a really weird noise and just stopped working, and like that. And we were like, what? And so all of a sudden, one of the girls in the elevator, when we realized we were stuck, that it wasn't moving and it wasn't responding, one of the girls in the elevator started like hyperventilating and panicking and like having a real moment. And she was like, oh my God, I have really, really bad news. And we were like, what's going on? And she was like, I'm severely claustrophobic and I'm having a panic attack. And so she sits on the floor, and I go, okay, well, I've got really, really, really bad news. And she goes, what? I go, if you don't play with my dog and keep his attention, I think he's going to drop a bomb on you because he's dying to go out. And so everyone started laughing, and she started playing with the dog, and we turned it into kind of like a emergency take care of the woman who's having a panic. And so I just kept her laughing, and I was like, oh my God, are you single? And because if you are, like, we're going to get rescued. But they said the fire department's coming, and I don't know if you guys get the calendar every year, but those guys are really hot. And so maybe, you know, whatever. She was like, I am single. And I was like, see, this could be you. We could be meeting your husband. So get it together, girl. And so we were like, you know, like laughing with her. 45 minutes later, they open the hatch of the roof. And I go up because I'm the guy. They drop the ladder down. So I'm the first one up just to see if everything's safe to help the girls get out. And I climb up to kind of get the first girl up. And I look down at the girl who's having a panic attack. And I go, bad news. I go, not the guys from the calendar. I said, but anyways, I was like, so we got out of the elevator. We were all in the lobby, and we had all been in this situation for about an hour. And we all said our goodbyes. And one of the girls in the elevator, about 2 months later, called me because we exchanged business cards. We're like, oh, we should have drinks. We survived. We're survivors. And so we never did it, of course, because we're all crazy busy. And she called me about a month or 2 months later and said, hey, you know, she asked me if I was a comedian, actually, when we got out of the elevator. So when she got this thing that came across her desk where a television network was looking for a designer who had an accomplished background in design, but also was TV friendly or TV savvy or something like that. And she called me and said, hey, you know, have you ever done, she's like, she goes, I know I asked you if you were a comedian and you're not. She's like, but you're funny. She goes, have you ever done TV? And I said, no. And she said, like, anything on TV? And I go, nope. I said, I think the closest thing I've ever done to anything on TV was what you saw in the elevator. And she was like, okay. She's like, I'm putting you up for this show. I don't really know much about it other than they won't give much information, but they said there has to be a gay man who's an interior designer who has an accomplished and sort of, you know, like background in design, and but also could be fun on television. And so that's how I got interested. I got introduced to it, and I went in, and there were about, you know, 75 or 80 interior designers in a conference room in Midtown. And I thought, oh, this is crazy. I don't even know why I'm here. This is nuts. And that's kind of how I got involved. And it was like, it took about a year for them to call me, but they interviewed us. They had me come back a couple times, and you just go into a room with a bunch of scary people that look at you awkwardly, and they ask you a bunch of unusual questions. And I gave very sort of honest and I don't know. I just gave, like, I said, you know,
you were
whatever
just
answer
yourself.
I gave. Yeah, and I was like, I'm never
know.
going to get this. I don't think I answered the questions right. And that's how I found Queer Eye, or Queer Eye found me, I should say. And or we found each other. And then and I was terrified. So the first I was hired, I was in Boston at a project I was doing there. I was driving back in a rainstorm, and they called and offered me the job. It was about a year after I interviewed for it. And I said, well, I've got to sort of talk to some people and, you know, think about this. Can I call you back? And they said, well, we need to know by tonight. And I said, okay, I'll let you know. So I started calling my friends and my family and designers I worked with, like David Kleinberg and Alan Tanksley. And I said, hey guys, like, what do you think? And pretty much everyone told me, like, you're crazy. This is going to ruin your career. You know, you have such a good foundation. This is like going off in a weird direction. And I, you know what? My family told me that. Pretty much everybody told me, like, it was not a good idea. And I thought about it. My brother actually said, well, it's kind of interesting, you know, like, when's the next time someone's going to ask you to do this? And I really thought about it. And I thought, like, if I was an artist, which I think we, you know, as designers, we are in the design world where we are artists at a certain level. You know, if I was working as a sculptor in bronze for 15 years and someone came to me in 1961 and said, I have this facility where we could work in acrylic, like, how cool would that be? I would never say, as a human, I would never be like, no, I don't want to do that. I only want to work in bronze. So I thought to myself, I said, you know, it's a new medium. design is going in a new direction. I think the world of design is starting to open up. It's starting to become more accessible. We're seeing that with all of these stores, like Crate and Barrel at the time was like a big deal. You know, like they were like
Right.
kind of new on the scene, like with real product, and or like raising the bar, raising the level of product. And I just said, you know, I think design is going in a direction where it's going to be more accessible, and I think television may be part of that journey. And it'd be really cool to be somebody that could sort of elevate what we're typically seeing in design. And at that time, what we were seeing, it was a lot of like design on a dime or while you were out, you know, where it's like your
Right.
two neighbors came
Instant
over.
decorating. Right.
You know, and those were adorable shows, and they were really fun, and I
Right.
watched them, and a million other people did as well. But it wasn't really about design. It was more about this sort of like wacky experience that was kind of loosely based on like design, and the designers were usually like ex models that were television hosts who just were like being produced by a producer. They weren't real designers. So that's kind of what it was, and there was nothing wrong with it. It's just that's as far as it had gotten. And I thought, hey, there's some room here for like design to start to get more legit on television.
Well, you know, you
that was where
certainly
it
made
started.
the right decision, Thom. So, and it must have
Yeah.
been a blast working on the show.
Oh my God.
So
It
now,
was crazy. It was so
so
much fun.
you've
And it's
got
still, and by the
a,
way, it still is. We still have fun together, the five of us.
yeah.
And now the 10 of us, kind of.
So tell us a little bit about your product line now.
Yes. So I started when I was doing Queer Eye. I would say when we were probably doing that, I'm going to say for about 7 years. And I think in about my 5th year, I decided that I always wanted to do product. And I thought, you know, this is a moment where I should start to really think about product and getting into that space and learning more about it. And I started really sort of, you know, really putting myself in those situations where I was meeting manufacturers and going to High Point and
Right.
understanding the business of that world and just the players and how that all was going to work, and trying to see if it was something that would work for me, and that if I could find the right home to land in. And initially I found Kravet, and I also found Vanguard were my first 2 relationships. And I was very lucky that they're both really great family companies, and they are friends. They work together. They have a synergy. So that was cool. And they seemed to be interested in sort of my, you know, background and what I was doing and my capabilities. At that point, I created a brand book. I also came up with a product sort of concept, or Thom Filicia Home Collection concept. And I still have that book. I have the brand book, which was sort of selling sort of the concept of what Thom Filicia brand could look like.
Right.
And so I developed that, and we went and sort of pitched it, and they were really excited about it. And that's kind of how I got into it. And it took like about 3 years or maybe 4 years to really sort of understand it. I mean, I started working in product in 2009, I think. It was like the height of the economy collapse.
Yeah.
People were not buying anything.
Yeah, it wasn't the best time to premiere the line.
It was not the best
no.
time. But what was great about it was, you know, it's like learning how to ski on the East Coast. Once you learn how to ski on the East Coast, skiing is easy wherever you go, because skiing on the East Coast is pretty icy. So when you go to out west or you go to Europe, it's like, wow, this is amazing. So it's pretty easy wherever you go. And I think learning to sell product and to design product in an economy that was really not budging or moving at all, and making things happen and getting recognized and all of that at that time, that was a really great moment, because I think it taught me how to really sort of be scrappy and apply myself and you know, really sort of make something work. And we were able to slowly kind of move it along. And after 3 years, I think the economy really started getting stronger, and people, we were better at what we were doing. And then when the economy was stronger and we were better, all of a sudden our product really started to move. And I've now been doing it for 11 years, and we're excited about the future of it and moving it forward. And we're growing.
And people can view your product line on
Yes.
your website, correct?
Yeah, you can go to at Sedgwick and Brattle, which is my showroom. You can go to at Thom Filicia on Instagram and see it. Sedgwick and Brattle is our showroom. Thom Filicia Home Collection is the home collection. You can go to Thom Filicia Portfolios and you can see it's in there as well. You can see work we've done. You can see some of our products. And so, yeah, and right now we're moving on lighting right now, which is a new thing, which is really exciting. We're moving on a new rug collection with Phasey, which is really exciting. We have wall coverings with MDC, with Winfield Tibony and York. We also have Eastern Accents does our bedding. Classical Elements does our curtain hardware. We have Vanguard does our case goods and upholstery. We have, oh God, I can't even think now. Oh God, off the top of my head. Lord.
Well, Thom, you've got a very exciting venture right now, which is a collaboration with Alexa Hampton.
Yes. So we're doing.
It's called what? Market on the Move?
Market on the Move.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because she's incredibly talented.
And she's a great girl too. She's a great mom. She's a great girl. She grew up, her father, obviously, for those of you obviously that know, but for those of you that don't, her father was a really amazing designer and sort of an icon in the industry. And she's really kept that business moving forward and her own sort of product lines and things like that. She's also just, she's a girl who could be a lot less dynamic and fun than she is. She could be sort of an uptight Park Avenue girl if she wanted to be. And she is the most down-to-earth, fun, hilarious, really great spirited person. She's just awesome. And so she's really great. We were both at High Point this last market, and market was actually quite good. And we both had a good market in terms of sales, and we were at about 50% of our normal amount of people that come through. And we were both sort of like thinking to ourselves separately, like I was like, gosh, it was really weird that certain people weren't at market, but everyone was still afraid, and and so we totally understood it. But we were like, we really appreciated the markets of years past, because we were both there talking about, wow, market was different and it was a lot quieter, but it was a good market. We were able to really connect with people, but we missed a lot of the people that we typically see. And I always called, High Point like design camp for, designers. And it's really fun, and it's great to reconnect with people and build that community and talk about business and the business of design and all of those other things. And so we just both thought, like, wow, wouldn't it be fun to take some of the product and have it available for people that didn't travel, and that may still, we're maybe thinking that this market will be about 75 or 80%, but there's still going to be that, let's say 15 to 20% that's not there. So we're like, wouldn't it be nice to do something that was kind of energetic and that was no one else has done before, and get our partners to be involved in it. And we both, she's with TA and I'm with Vanguard, and we kind of came together with Theodore Alexander and Vanguard, myself and Alexa, and created this concept of bringing market to you. Like, right. So as a designer, you can, and you're in the Northeast, you're in the tri-state area. If you're in New York City, or you're planning to be in New York City, or you want to come to New York City, it's an easy, get on a train, get in your car, come visit us, and jump in a taxi and make an appointment either virtually or with us in person, and do like a reduced market. And I used my showroom. Alexa rented a space, and we just basically are doing these kind of like, kind of bringing the community together sort of regionally.
So Thom, is this all available online?
Market on the Move is, so you can go to at Thom and Alexa, at ThomandAlexa.com, and You can, it's called Market on the Move, and it's Thom and Alexa, and you can sign up for a virtual tour of my showroom and her showroom, or you can sign up for an actual in-showroom tour.
Yeah, that's great, because a lot of people don't have the luxury of traveling right now.
Yeah,
and
right.
New York's not the greatest place to travel at the moment with the amount of snow that you have.
Right,
So,
right.
Thom, when I was on your show, you had asked me about lecturing at UCLA and mentoring.
Yes.
And it's one of the things I wanted to ask you, because it's, that's a passion of mine. So you're a contributing lecturer, professor, and what advice would you give to people entering this field?
My advice would be, don't overcomplicate the conversation. I think what you really want to do when you get up in front of a group, I think, or my approach, so this may not work for everybody, but I don't really like talking at people about what I've done. You know what I mean? It's not really what I like to do. I really like it to be more of a conversation, and I like it to be more of a dialogue. I like it to be more interactive. I like it to be, having the audience really participate with the dialogue and have questions and answers, and really have it feel a little bit more like a talk show than it does a lecture, because I think it's more interesting.
Right.
And I think it's more compelling. I think it's more fun. I think it's more bespoke to the crowd and what they're thinking. And I think it's a little less narcissistic. It's a little bit less like, this is me and let me tell you about me.
Right.
I think it's really about like, hey, like we're kind of like all interested in a similar thing, whether you're a student, you're a practicing architect or designer or contractor, or you're a change of career person, or you're just a person who's interested in design, who's a stockbroker, whatever. But like we all have a common interest, and let's have a conversation about it and create a dialogue. And I feel like people walk away with like just a different amount of information, and information that feels, I think, like it feels approachable and it feels digestible. Where sometimes when I go to lectures and it's just sort of a traditional lecture, I feel like, it's like
it gets very fatiguing at some point.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. You kind of start looking at your watch and you're like, this is interesting, but it's like, I don't, I get it. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. And look, I've been to some where it's just like, it was really fascinating. But I do like it when it's more like what we're doing now, where you have like a conversation.
Yeah, it's interactive.
It's interactive, and
it's always great getting the people you're talking with, getting them involved.
Yeah,
getting them
to participate. It feels less formal, and I think when I look at architecture and when I look at myself, my personality, like my wardrobe, the way I communicate, I just realized that that's sort of my style or aesthetic, and it just fits the way that I think and the way that I like to design, and so I think it just feels more natural to me, and it just feels a little bit more modern in the way that people communicate now.
Yes.
It's the way
we're in the age of communication now. So
yeah.
So Thom, one of the things that people always ask every designer that I know, they always say, tell us about your house. What did you do with your house? What does it look like? How did you approach it? So can you give us a little peek into you?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. So let me tell you. So I live in New York City. My residence in New York City is I live in a modern building with floor to ceiling glass windows. It's a full floor of a building. It's, not that it's so big, but it's just the full floor of a building. The elevator opens up into it. It's just floor to ceiling glass windows in my living room and dining room and kitchen and my master bedroom and my guest room. And that's kind of the type of apartment it is. It's a modern glass box, and with like 11-foot ceilings. And so I wanted my city apartment to be, I wanted it to be like that. I wanted an apartment in the city that I really wanted to have that kind of elevator that opens into the space, was something I always wanted. I wanted it in a modern glass building, because when I'm in the city, I want as much light as I can get.
Right.
And I want the building to run like a machine. I didn't want you know, I didn't need a fireplace. I didn't need crown molding. I didn't need pre-war. I didn't want any of that. I wanted clean glass, modern box in a modern city environment. And so I live on the High Line Park in New York City in West Chelsea. And I bought this place about 9, 10 years ago. And I love it. It's great. It's exactly the neighborhood I wanted to be in. I love the High Line. I love looking at the High Line from my living room. And I love all of the light that I have in my life when I'm there. Because to me, New York City is about, when I go home, I want it to be something that's relaxing and that feels modern and urban and sophisticated, but super comfortable. And I just wanted a modern, clean box. Now, I have a house outside of this city on a lake. I have a lake house. The house was originally built in 1917, and it has an amazing big stone fireplace. And, you know, it was built originally out of barn beams that were from the barn that was on the property. That the family that built the house designed it so that the parents, their 2 kids, and then they had an outbuilding for the caretaker and the cook, and it was a summer house. It was built as a summer house for the family in 1917, and that house I've modernized and renovated, but I really kept sort of a lot of the charm of the existing structure, and
Right.
it feels very fresh and very clean. There's a book on it called American Beauty, and it's in my portfolio. If you go to Thom Filicia portfolio, you can see both my apartment. I think it says Chelsea apartment, and then my house says Skinny Atlas Lake House, I think, and it's the name of the lake, and those are, so you can see them there. I wanted the country to be more charming, but yet modern and young and fresh. They both have a lot of my product in them, from my bedding to my wall coverings to my furniture, case goods, upholstery, my rugs, my textiles from Kravet. You know, we have a line with Kravet. We're now doing an outdoor line with Kravet. We're doing a lighting line right now that we're working on. We're doing a door hardware line that we're working on. We're doing a new rug line that we're working on. So plus all the other stuff. And so I do live with a lot of my product. I very much practice what I preach. And
so Thom, with all that going on, how can you possibly be working on projects?
I'm actually at a house right now. I'm in Coral Gables in Florida.
Yes.
I'm here with the contractor and his son who built the house about 20 years ago, who we're working with to do a major renovation of this. I would say about 12,000 square foot house. It's on the water. It has a beautiful pool, a guest house. The property is really, lush. I would say about 2 acres of property, and really pretty in Coral Gables. So I'm here. We're doing a walkthrough about a lot of the things that we're going to do. I have the plans for my office that the office has drawn up, and we're just kind of walking through and making some on-site decisions. And yesterday I was shopping for stone because we have to have this house done for August 1st so that the kids can be ready for school. And so I mean, I'm involved in. Next in a couple weeks I have to go to Montana to do an installation at the Yellowstone Club. I'm then in Greenwich the next week. We're finishing a project in Greenwich, actually 2 projects in Greenwich, a bunch in New York City, a big loft we're doing in Soho. There's a lot. We're doing a hotel in Turks and Caicos. We're doing a couple houses in upstate New York, about 3 or 4 city apartments. I don't know, a whole bunch. We're finishing up another house in North Carolina right on the ocean, which is a really cool modern house from the 60s that we spent about 2 years redoing. And it's been, I love it.
So when you, none of us have really the luxury of traveling internationally right now.
Yeah,
no. When we can travel again, where do you think you're headed off to?
I think my first trip I think it's going to probably be London. There's some friends that I haven't seen in a while that are there that I really want to see. And I love London. but I think Italy is probably, I think, yeah, I mean, I'm dying to get to Italy. I missed going to Greece in the summer. So, you know, I think I'll probably want to hit Italy and Greece in the summer, and probably in the fall I'll probably want to do London and maybe Paris, and that will be
Right.
kind of my
Sounds like heaven to me.
Yeah. So that'll probably be the game plan. I had COVID, and I've got my mask right here. I try to have masks that are somewhat environmentally. This feels kind of Floridian.
Yeah.
um, so I play by the rules. I had it. I have the antibodies still. I've been tested. So I mean, I travel, but I travel very thoughtfully,
Intelligently, yeah.
with caution, and
Yeah.
we do it in a way where I'm able to distance in airplanes, and I know where I'm staying, and I'm comfortable with where I'm staying, and all of those things. And I last night had dinner with 3 friends, and that's it. And it was at an outdoor restaurant that wasn't crowded at all. And tonight we will do the same thing. And so I keep it pretty safe, but I'm not traveling. I'm not going into too many different environments. But look, there's a light at the end of the tunnel at this point. I'm feeling really optimistic about 2021, and I feel like we've made it this far. If we can make it a few more weeks, I'm feeling.
Oh, we certainly can, and I'm very optimistic about it too. I think we're going to have a great year. So one of your fans is on, Thom, and they said, Thom is looking so handsome. The gray hair suits you.
Thank you. Thank you. Whoever you are, thank you so much.
So you're having a good hair day, Thom.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thom,
by the way, you never know. It's potluck in Florida. It could be humid, and I could have a very different situation on the top of my head. But someone said to me the other day, they're like, oh my God, I love the color of your hair. And I was like, this is not a color. There is no color involved.
This is it.
This is just my age.
Okay. Thom, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. This was so much fun. I had a great time on your show, and I'm really, I feel so honored that you came on mine, and I can't wait to see you in person.
Well, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate it, Mark. And it was a lot of fun to have you on mine, and so of course I was excited to do this. And thanks everybody everyone who's watching, and everyone who uploads this later. Thanks for doing that, and I look forward to seeing you all in the real world, in real time, at a real fun place with a really great group of people dancing and celebrating that we can be outside again. Great.
So Thom, tell everyone your website so they can go on and check out your products and so forth.
So you can go to @Thom Filicia on Instagram. You can go to Sedgwick and Brattle @Thom Filicia. You can also go to Thom Filicia Portfolio. You can go to Thom Filicia Incorporated. You can go to Sedgwick and Brattle's website. But I would just say @Thom Filicia and @Sedgwick and Brattle is SEDGWICK and Brattle, BRTTLE. And then @Thom Filicia is THOMFILICIALIs.
Great. Thank you, Thom. Best of luck on your project there in Florida.
Thank you. Big kiss. I got to get back to work here.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. And everyone have a great Friday.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, I hope everyone had fun listening to Thom. He's just amazing. So in 2 weeks, we have another incredibly charismatic guest. He's been a friend of mine for many, many years, the amazing Hutton Wilkinson. And as you know, Hutton was a partner with the legendary designer Tony Duquette. So he's a fountain of information in the design world, and he's going to show us some of his fabulous new jewelry designs and talk about his design ventures. So please join me. And I always remind everyone at the end that Designers at Home is available online anytime. So if you can't make it live, there's YouTube, Instagram, and we have a podcast, and it's under Mark Weaver and Associates. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you had as much fun as I did getting to know Thom, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Goodbye.